Hello, BookTube. Who's up for a mail haul? I know I say that all the time, and you all are. But still, I keep saying it. This is the haul for now, for this time, and it starts off with these two skinny things. I don't know what they are. Like this thing. What is this? That's thin Vite. Just add water and have as much as you like. Make a pig of yourself. That's a reference. This might actually be an advanced copy of the kids' book. That might explain the dimensions. Yeah, and look at that. That's exactly what it is. Excellent. Okay. Great. This is by Barbara Di Lorenzo, and it is called Renato and the Lion. There's the Duomo of Florence in the background. And you see, as we've seen on this channel before, the advanced copies of kids' books are just the pages without backing or staple. So I can't actually give them away, but I can still use them. This comes out in June, and this is this is Barbara Di Lorenzo's debut. Isn't that nice? Renato is a young boy living in Florence on the cusp of World War II. He loves playing soccer with his friends in the Piazza della Signoria and walking past all the beautiful buildings. But most of all, he loves the stone lion who seems to smile at him from the pedestal of the piazza. After Renato's father tells him that they must protect the art from the forthcoming war, Renato hatches a plan to build a brick wall around his favorite lion. But when soldiers come into the square, Renato has to hide. Suddenly, in the middle of the night, the lion comes to life to safely escort him through Florence and back home. Oh, doesn't that sound good? All right, so Renato and the Lion. I will mention it again when we're in July. Then we got this thing here. This is also kind of skinny. And it's also bottom-ended, so I don't know what this is. Of course I don't know what this is. That's the whole point of this, isn't it? What is this here? Oh. Oh, okay. All right, so what have we got? Have we got a pub sheet of any kind, or am I supposed to wing it? Oh, no, there's no pub sheet. All right, so we'll wing it. This is The Changeling by Victor Laval. With it, Anthony Doerr has a singularly unfortunate quote on the front cover. If the literary gods mixed together Haruki Murakami and Ralph Ellison, the result would be Victor Laval. So I guess it's a nice roundabout way of the Kakutani if so-and-so and so-and-so had a baby. But I don't see why Haruki Murakami and Ralph Ellison couldn't... Well, no, never mind. It's a book of some kind. It doesn't have a pub sheet, and I don't remember enough about it to. It's a pretty thing. I don't remember enough about it to tell you anything. Well, actually, since I don't remember anything about it, let's give it a start, shall we? This fairy tale begins in 1968 during a garbage strike. A couple of Deb and Mice children started the same way. And at the same time. And in the same place. It didn't amount to much either. In February, New York City's sanitation workers refused to pick up trash for 8 straight days. 100,000 tons of garbage filled the sidewalks, spilled into the streets. Rats ran laps alongside morning joggers. Rubbish fires boiled the air. The 5 boroughs had been given up for dead. Still, there was some cracked magic in the air because that was when Lillian and Brian met. Each had journeyed from far-flung lands to find one another in Queens. Neither could have guessed the wildness that falling in love would unleash. Okay, that's not a bad opening, is it? That's not a bad opening. Okay, so I imagine there's a little baby in the woods on the cover. You can see there. So it's a modern day fairy tale that I know very little about. So we'll have to move on. But that was an energetic beginning. I would keep reading. So let's see what this next one is. Oh my, it's YA. It's YA. Oh, and oh goodness gracious, it's part of a series. Okay, it's by Suzanne Young. It's called The Adjustment. There are 2 people sitting there. The only cure is to remember. It's a program novel. Tatum Masterson never went through the program with a capital P. She never had her memory stripped, never had to fight to remain herself. But when Wes, her longtime boyfriend, was taken by handlers, she hoped he'd remember her somehow. that their love would be strong enough. It wasn't. Like all returners, Wes came back a blank canvas. The years he and Tatum spent together were forgotten, as well as the week when he mysteriously disappeared before the program came for him. Regardless of his memory loss, Tatum fights to get Wes to remember her. Okay, that's it's a bit wrong, right? Regardless of his memory loss, the next thing has to be Wes. If it's Tatum, she's not a him. She's not a his. She didn't have a memory loss. That's all right, though. Oh, we know what the author means. And just as they start to build a new love, they hear about the adjustment with a capital A new therapy that implants memories from a donor. Despite the risks, Tatum and Wes agree to go through the process, and Tatum donates her memories from their time together. But the problem with memory is that it is all a matter of perspective. So although Wes can now remember dating Tatum, his emotions don't match the experience. Huh. Okay. So, all right. So, one, that's not how memory works, but it's fantasy, so that's okay. Two, I of course want to know what happened to Wes during the week that he was gone before he entered the program. That's obviously going to end up being vitally important. And three, and most important, how many of these do I need to read to make sense of this? That description made it sound like I could launch into this book right away without any trouble. But the earlier books are the program, the treatment, the remedy, and the epidemic. Those all sound important. All right, so this comes out in a little later in the month. I wonder if the publicist would be kosher with sending me the rest of them. I don't mind powering through the whole thing if it's not going to make any sense for me not to. Okay, all right, great. So let's move on here. I don't know if I'm getting to be a softie in my old age, but these are all sounding very interesting to me. What happened to the old Steve? All right. Oh, okay, great. This is due in September. I requested this because it looked really good. It's called Jumping at Shadows by Sasha Abramsky, who is an author, freelance journalist, and a lecturer at the University of California, and a senior fellow at Demos. And he wrote The American Way of Poverty, which was really good. Why does a disease that killed only a handful of Americans, like Ebola, provoke panic, but the flu, which kills tens of thousands each year, is dismissed with a yawn? Why is an unarmed black woman who knocks on a stranger's front door to ask for help after a car breaks down perceived to be so threatening that the stranger shoots her dead? In Jumping at Shadows, Sasha Abramsky sets his sights on America's most dangerous epidemic, irrational fear. In this meditation on the paralyzing terror Americans feel when confronted with something they don't understand, Abramsky delivers an eye-opening analysis of our misconceptions about risk and threat, about how our brains interpret them, both on a neurological level and a conscious one. What emerges is a journey through a political and cultural landscape that is defined by our fears, which are often misplaced. Ultimately, Abramsky shows us that fears can teach us a great deal about our society, exposing our deeply ingrained racism, classism, xenophobia, and susceptibility to the toxic messages of demagogues. A little pointed stuff going on there, I think. Also, needless to add, I'm sure the author spends a great deal of time. It's not in that cover synopsis, but I'm sure the author spends a great deal of time on it. Social media. Twitter is made for creating the shadows that we then jump at. So I'm sure that's a problem that with I mentioned it on this channel before, with new nonfiction books, that when I get the advance copy, there's no index. So I don't. Friends have often pointed out, back when I used to have a working post office box, and we would go there, I would drag friends there all the time, and so that before BookTube, when people would be with me when I would encounter a book like this for the first time, I would always get comments about, people would say, you pick up one of these things, you do the reverse of most people, you go to the back, you start at the back. And the reason for that is because I'm checking the bibliography, I'm checking the endnotes, and I'm checking the index. And with an advanced copy in a nonfiction, I can't do that yet. So a little closer to September, I will get a finished copy, and I will, I'll have a little firmer hand on what things the author consulted. But I will have read it long before then, because this subject is interesting to me. So Jumping at Shadows, that's great. All right, we're making progress here. We're almost halfway there. What is this next one? Oh my. Okay. I talk about Twitter. I tweeted about this. This is due in August. It is by Veronica Henry, and it is called How to Find Love in a Bookshop. Nightingale book. This is going to bring out the cynic in me. I've spent way too much time in bookshops. I know that they lend themselves with a certain kind of writer and a certain kind of reader to an extremely fake folklorizing that just, if you spend any time working in a bookstore, you want to laugh at it and then throw up at it. The worst example possible probably being that Paris Bookshop book from 2 years ago, I think, the Little Bookshop of Paris or something like that, where the bookshop is on a boat in the river. There wasn't a single paragraph of that book I didn't violently hate. But let's see what this one has to say. Nightingale Books is a dream come true for book lovers, but owner Amelia Nightingale, oh, for God's sake, her name is Nightingale. Okay, all right, okay. Is struggling to keep the shop open after her beloved father's death. Don't tell me. Let me guess. What was his name? Dust Jacket? Dust Jacket Nightingale? DJ. He was great. And the temptation to sell is getting stronger every day. The property developers are circling, yet she can't imagine breaking the promise she made to her father to keep the store alive. Torn between continuing the family tradition and forging her own way, Amelia must ultimately decide if saving the bookstore will also help her save herself. Enter the world of Nightingale Books, where the best stories aren't just within the pages on the shelves, but in the tales Amelia's customers have to tell, in the lives they share, and in the books they all cherish. Okay, that sounds very similar to the Little Paris Bookshop, where they don't all cherish different books. They all cherish the same books in the same way. Ah, Kundera, I'm not sure if you're ready yet, because books happen in stages, like tooth decay. And they can be mapped, and there's no other way. There's only one way, and we who work here are the savants. We understand this process. We're its priests and priestesses, and you really don't. So when you come in and you're looking for something and you think you want Kundera, we can say, no, you're 2 years away from Kundera. That might not be true here, but let's see. Veronica Henry worked as a scriptwriter before turning to fiction. And she lives with her family in North Devon, England. And that's it. So the all-important detail of her author biography is nowhere to be found, which is, did she ever work in a bookstore? But there's a quote from her. How to find love in a bookshop is my ode to all the bookshops that have provided me with endless hours of pleasure. Well, that answers that. It's for anyone who loves spending hours browsing among the bookshelves, hours that might be lost but are never wasted. For that is how to find love in a bookshop. Oh my, okay. Well, that's a strong element of treacle coming off this thing, but you never know. By the same token that I will sneer at some of its syrup, I will also smile and nod, I'm sure, at some of its bookstore anecdotes and the way it captures bookstore life. I'm often tempted to write something about working at a bookstore myself, because I have ever so many anecdotes and did it for so long. But see, now we're back to this. We're back to something tiny and skinny. Is this going to be another kid's book? What is this thing? Oh, it is. It's another kid's book. Oh my. Oh my, look at that face. This is Pig the Winner by Aaron Blabey. Ooh. Oh my. Well, obviously, this should go to Reading with Pugs. It's due in June. But it can't go to Reading with Pugs now. Because I can't send, this thing there's nothing to it. It's falling apart. So I'm going to have to wait until I get the finished copy. And I will keep this one, and then I'll send that one. This is about a pug named Pig. I've dealt with his adventures before. In Pig the Winner, Aaron Blabey brings readers another laugh-out-loud adventure starring his irascible doggy anti-hero, Pig the Pug. Once again, the headstrong hound is annoying his wiener dog playmate Trevor, challenging the other pooch to an eating contest. Desperate to win, Pig accidentally stuffs more than just food in his mouth, and it's up to Trevor to save the day. Alright, great. So this is 2 kids' books. That's fantastic. Then we get to the last one. This is the end of this particular book haul. The thin books turned out to be kids' books. Great. That's fantastic. The more of those I get, the better. Oh, goodness gracious. Oh, my God. All right, so we end with a gigantic novel. The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. Look at the size of that thing. Good Lord. This comes out in August. And it is a novel to make you laugh and cry while reminding us all of the redemptive power of the human spirit. Good Lord. Good Lord. So whoever wrote that, I mean, you couldn't try a little? That's... Oh my. Alright, well, what have we got here? This is an Irish novel, I believe. This is certainly an Irish novelist. What have we got here? One of Ireland's most acclaimed and best-known writers. He now brings us his most ambitious novel yet, a masterful epic already earning raves in the UK that traces the life of an ordinary Irish man from 1945 to 2015. As he grapples with his relationships, his sexuality, and his search for a place and people that truly make him feel at home. Cyril Avery is born out of wedlock to a 16-year-old girl cast out by the priest in her rural village in Western Ireland, in front of the entire congregation, no less. He's adopted by a well-to-do but cold Dublin couple who lives in an imposing house in Dartmouth Square. Charles, a banker, and Maud, a brilliant novelist who abhors attention. Cyril isn't a real Avery, as his adoptive parents never cease to remind him, oh, for God's sake. But if he isn't an Avery, then who is he? Well, okay. So I guess the novel largely hinges on whether or not, having heard that setup, you want to know. if having heard that setup, cold, snooty, big city slicker adopted parents who don't go to the bother of adopting him but don't seem to want him, rural bastard makes good, that sort of thing. If you reach the end of that and you want to know who he is, then this book's for you. I will have to... he wrote The Boy in the Striped Pajamas that I thought was just awful. Everybody loved it. So either I was wrong about that book and therefore am wrong about him, or I was right, and that will bode poorly for this book. But it's due in late August, so I don't have to jump at it right away. I gotta confess, I am kind of curious. So anyway, The Heart's Invisible Furies. Oh, God, we've got The Return of the Sun here. We've got 2 kids' books, Pig the Pug. So this is Pig the Winner. The Heart's Invisible Furies. How to Find Love in a Bookshop. Jumping at Shadows. The Adjustment, a YA novel. The Changeling. And another kid's book. This is Renato and the Lion. Fantastic. What a nice book haul. All right. So that'll do for now, and I will see you soon before we're consumed in the sun here. Thank you.